Welcome to the AxeCast podcast. Conversations with interesting people from the world of Acadia athletics and more, talking about their lives, successes, and failures. And now let's join hosts Glenn Hawley and Eric Cederberg for the next 15 to 20 minutes as they dive into the life of today's guest.
This week on the AxeCast, we are pleased to be joined by someone who has an interesting journey. Played basketball at Acadia, went into the coaching world, and these days is an official, one of few female basketball officials in Eastern Canada. Jen Lloyd from the class of 1991 joins us. And I guess it's Jen McKenzie, but for those of us that remember you on the court, it's Jen Lloyd. How are you, Jen?
Great. Yeah, thanks for having me. Looking forward to this.
This is always a lot of fun because it's all about the journey, and it's the journey to Acadia and during Acadia and then post Acadia. So sort of take us back to those young years in Truro, Nova Scotia, and you know you were quite an athlete. It wasn't just basketball.
No, basketball wasn't my first sport. Came from a very athletic family. My mom and dad both played softball well into their 40s and 50s. Dad played, well, actually they both played for the main brace. I don't know how familiar you are with the Truro scene, but that was sort of like a low-level legion in Truro, and they had always had good men's and women's teams. So I grew up as Batgirl for the main brace team. So watching my parents compete in sports, and then later on my dad, after he retired, coached my mom, who played it well into her 50s. So that was neat being around that. But hockey was my first sport as I think 7-year-old. My dad, so they say, fought long and hard for me to get into minor hockey, which wasn't a female sport back then. So he said that I was one of the first females to play hockey or minor hockey in Nova Scotia. Not documented by any means, but I'm sure if some hockey fans are watching the podcast, they can attest to that. But anyway, hockey was my first sport. Played it until junior high, just going into junior high when my mom said I couldn't play anymore because there was checking, and she didn't want the boys feeling like they couldn't check me. It had nothing to do with me. I was 5'10" in junior high. So
you had the same experience then as Wendy Wells. If you remember Wendy Wells, she same thing, went through hockey, playing with the boys.
Yep. Yeah, and just to see it now on a national, international stage, how far it's come, it's wonderful. So I'm fortunate that I, got to play. I'm, happy with the route that I took, and I'm proud to be a trendsetter and have someone else now being able to play at that high of a level. It's wonderful. So yeah, basketball didn't come until much later on in life, junior high. So I was a late bloomer.
How did that sort of come into your life?
I just got to junior high, and I mean, my elementary school gym, you couldn't shoot baskets in. So it was, the roof was so low. We were in the basement of this tiny school. So I think the junior high, I played volleyball in junior high, tried out for basketball, didn't actually make the team until I was in 9th grade. So just perseverance and just love of all sports. So I thank my parents for that, for keeping me involved in sports, winter, summer, all year round, basically. So a lot of thanks to them, and it just, right place, right time, and good coaches at that level, and story goes from there.
So you ended up playing with Cobequid, and I think back then, Cobequid Secondary School, I pretty sure back then it was a powerhouse like it is now.
Yeah. I was very lucky to have Mike McKay, Acadia alumni, as my coach all through high school. I mean, he's regarded on a national and now with his work with Canada basketball on international level. So I was blessed to have a really good coach in high school who laid the foundation for all of the successes that I was able to have at university and beyond. And I know our fellow Acadia alumni, and there was tons of us: Patty Hayden, Maureen McDonald, Becky McDonald. I'm sure there's more, apologies who I'm forgetting, but we all came into the program with the skills and the physical and the mental aspects ready to make an impact at the university level. And luckily Laura had the confidence in us to, let us do our thing, and we had a lot of success.
Jen, when you look back at your journey to arrive at Acadia, was it a situation where you were being recruited, and how did that all become reality?
Yeah, a few schools recruited me, and I mean, just at the end of the day, I mean, I was never a strong student, so I knew that I wanted to, continue to play basketball, and Acadia gave me the opportunity to play basketball and, get a degree in physical education, which, was sports, and that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be involved in sports, so win-win. So luckily I made a really good choice and had a really good experience at Acadia, friends, classmates that I still keep in contact with today. So yeah, happy with my choice. I think if I had gone to school in the city, I probably would have been a one-year wonder and flunked out. Too many distractions.
Listen, Laura was an intense coach, but you know what? When I have the opportunity to talk to alumni that played for her in her 2 decades at Acadia, 9 times out of 10, they talk about, what Laura meant to them, not just as a basketball athlete, but the opportunity to grow as a young person. Your reflections on Laura Sanders as your head coach?
Yeah, like I said, I mean, she, recruited us, and right when we came on campus, she, gave us the confidence and knew that we were coming in with with a high basketball IQ, skill-wise, mental-wise, practice-wise. So for us as CEC grads, the transition from high school to university wasn't that drastic because we were practicing every day. We were on the road every weekend playing tournaments. So I think she appreciated the fact that we came in with that basketball maturity, and she allowed us to have that maturity and be leaders as first, second, and third year kids, and just made it a good experience. We worked hard, we practiced hard. We had our pillow practices when in the fall, when Laura was still coaching soccer, we would come in after her soccer practices or games, and that's what we used to call them, pillow practices, because sometimes they started at 8 o'clock at night, sometimes they started at 9 o'clock at night. So, but we knew coming in that, I mean, Acadia had a top-notch soccer program as well as, other varsity athletics. So we knew what we were getting into. So Laura taught us, time organization, hard work, management, and she gave us a lot of leadership skills and opportunities that I think helped my pathway as a player and a coach, and now as an official.
Jen, when you reflect on those years as a basketball athlete, what stands out for you, whether it's an individual accomplishment or something that the team did?
I remember our first year, we were 7-0 at the Christmas break. So we were riding high. We had a few injuries and things in the second half. We limped into playoffs at, I think, 9-9 or 9-8 or something like that. And but just remembering being in first place that first and second year was pretty good. I mean, we had a really good team, and just having that success and having people look forward to the challenge of playing Acadia. Probably for me personally, having not been a strong student, being an academic All-Canadian in my third year was certainly an accomplishment for me personally on an academic level. And I had great friends. Ann Dodge Smith, who's a faculty member, who was my study buddy, and Don McLeod. We all went through our phys ed degree together, and there was a bunch of people that were just, Don and Ann especially, were really supportive and helped me along the way to graduate and have some success. So I'd have to say that academic All-Canadian is kind of a feather in my cap that I'm pretty proud of.
If I recall back then, I mean, I was a student right around, I think I came in a year or two after you'd been here, but I think you were part of some of the stronger basketball programs back then, teams back then. And if I recall, it had a pretty big complement of players from Cobequid.
Yeah. So my second year, Patty, Hayden, and Becky McDonald came in. Maureen McDonald, who was also an all-conference soccer player. We came in '87, and Maureen played both soccer and basketball all the way through. God love her. she was a workhorse. So yeah, we had a good Acadia pipeline connection going for a little while.
So you were the first, probably, were you? Were you the first from Cobequid to kind of step into basketball at Acadia?
Trying to think.
I think you were.
Yeah, it's
Started
everybody.
pipeline.
Yep. Yeah. So me and Mike started it. So I can't remember if he had a little nudge on which way we went or not, but
Yeah. Now, and you mentioned your phys ed degree, and you know, talking about being young, growing up, a multi-sport athlete. I guess it should come as no surprise to anybody that you're a phys ed teacher today.
yeah, I love my job, and I'm elementary phys ed specialist. I'm at two elementary schools here in Dartmouth doing a circuit, which most elementary phys ed teachers do, because I'll put my dig in. There's not enough phys ed time in our curriculum right now. So most of the elementary jobs in the city are two schools or more, and I'm lucky to only have two. But yeah, I love my job. Just every day is different. The kids make it energetic and dynamic, and I just love seeing them active, and I know the value of it. So for me, it's all about lifetime sports, having them find activities, not our traditional activities either. I mean, I grew up, traditional. You played basketball in this unit and then volleyball, and then, but not that there's anything wrong with that, but that's the way it was. So now it's more just finding, niches for kids to fit in where they're comfortable, because it's not our job to teach them to be, varsity athletes. It's our job to teach them to love activity, be knowledgeable of their bodies and the skills, and be physically literate, be able to play in the snow and ski and slide on ice and roll down a hill and have games, but more importantly, be able to get along with people. So the elementary journey, it's really neat because you can see those progressions and see the kids develop. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with my career.
I started this off by talking about your journey, and when you left Acadia, obviously you're in the teaching world, but as well, you've been very involved with basketball, and your journey didn't start. And we're going to get to the fact that you're an official now, but you actually started out in the coaching world.
Yeah. When I graduated from Acadia in '91, I went back to Truro, my hometown, and my plan was to substitute teach in Chignecto, which is our school board, and help Mike coach the high school team. And in probably late September, the now defunct Nova Scotia Teachers College, which was a powerhouse in the ACAA, the college league, their coach quit a month into school. So there was a couple of Truro people, Sandra Barkos, Sandra McIsaac now, mother of who's the NHL boy, Jared. So
Yep.
well, Truro shout out for Jared playing with Detroit. Sandra came to me as a second or third year student at Teachers College and said, our coach is gone, will you coach? So I was like, okay. So here's me going in coaching girls, all teachers, so everybody wants a voice. It was wonderful. I mean, some of them were a year or two older than me, so that was trial by fire. We were into it right away, and we had a lot of success at Teachers College. Went to nationals twice, and then when they decided to turn to a community college, I decided that I would still want to keep coaching, so I went across the bridge into Bible Hill and coached at the Nova Scotia Agricultural College, and we won a college title there. So yeah, taking all the things that I had learned, from Mike, from Laura, from summer programs, it was a good coaching journey.
And then there was this transition into being an official. Now, on the surface, I'm always like, who would ever want to be an official with the abuse you take from players, coaches, and fans? How did that whole transition happen, Jen?
Well, in Truro, had some really good mentors, Keith Fink, Reg Jukes, Peter Caulfield. I mean, the Caulfield name is, synonymous with basketball officiating in Nova Scotia and nationally. So I had some pretty good mentors who had refereed me growing up. And once I was back in town, they put a little bug in my ear, and the time was right. I mean, the mandate of the national body was they wanted some young females. They wanted, people who were willing to, get into it for the long haul. So once the coaching changed, I said, yeah, sure, the time is right. And I feel that by wearing all those hats that I wore as a player, as a coach, as a table official, that I could have a good transition. And I was lucky that I had really good mentors and people that taught me the game and taught me how to officiate. And it's been a pretty good ride. I'm still enjoying it a lot. So I'm not gonna hang up the whistle just yet. It's still a great experience. And I love seeing all the kids. I mean, kids that I've refereed since they were in mini. Haley McDonald, our Acadia superstar. I've been refereeing her since she was in, junior high and bantam. So to see the players progress up to to a national level, if you look at, Haley's case, it's really rewarding. So happy I made that choice.
What was the toughest part starting that officiating career? You were a player at a high level and you coached. What was the toughest part for you to sort of to accept or transition into?
Mechanically, it was that I just wanted to watch the game all the time. So in officiating, you're not always watching the ball. I know a lot of people don't know that. No, I'm joking. But just not watching everybody's one-on-one, or to not watching that great post player who you know is going to do something exciting. So just the idea that you can't watch the game. You have to, you have your primary, and sometimes that's on the ball and sometimes that's off the ball. So I had to transition from being a fan of the game and wanting to watch where the action is, to having to, have a little broader scope and, watching sometimes where the action wasn't. So that was a big transition.
That's huge. And I went through that with not being able to coach football anymore, not having the time anymore. I decided I'm going to start officiating football. And, about 4 years ago, I decided, okay, I'll get my level 1 and I'll do some pee-wee games, the small kids. And then all of a sudden I became in demand to do high school because we were short of high school. Here I am doing high school at level 1. But I remember going to that level and just realizing, like, man, watching the game was hard to do, to try to not watch the game, but watch what your responsibilities are, and we're a little bit luckier in football to have up to 4 officials or more out there than basketball. But I can tell you what, being around basketball my whole life and watching officials officiate is one officiating job I would not want to do, because I find that basketball is just so quick. And I don't know, maybe because I played football, I find it easier, but holy moly. And I've had people approach me, maybe Eric, you should, I think Laura Saunders asked me one time, you should try officiating basketball. I'm like, no way. And we do know Laura's out there officiating basketball now. So
yeah. No, it is. It's a huge, but I do think that I definitely have an advantage having worn all those hats, because I can communicate, both during the game and dead ball. I know the passion involved from the playing side and the coaching side. I can read really well when people are upset, and I think I have an empathetic side that I can go to them, when the time's convenient, and say, listen, I see you're upset, what's going on. And I think that the kids appreciate, and the coaches, that I can empathize with them and that I'll communicate with them. So that's one strong point that I think I have, because I've worn all the hats. I know the intensity of coaching. I know the hard work and the price of practice and training and all that stuff that goes into playing. So I think I have a good feel on what's going on during the game from all facets of it.
Jen, we've seen you officiate Acadia games, but take us back to the very first time you had to officiate an Acadia Axewoman game. But were you nervous going into that one?
Yeah, I think so. I don't remember it, dates or times, to be honest. I mean, Acadia was really good. I think that was back in the Emma and Abby Dunker era and the Bev Greenlaw era. So, knowledgeable coach, intense coach, great players. So I don't remember being, nervous or not nervous. Every game I'm nervous because I want to go in and do my best job and, provide, we're getting paid to provide a service. So I set myself on a pretty high pedestals to, get the job done and have people glad that you're working their game. So every game is a new challenge. I mean, luckily, I'll just put into Acadia perspectives, Bev, Coach Len, they've always been, supportive, and we've had our conversations, but they've always been supportive. And we've had great communication pathways back and forth, you know, both on and off the court. So I've been pretty lucky to have good relationships with coaches, I think.
Things that you've aspired to do, you've done. Things that maybe have fallen in your lap, you've done, and you've enjoyed it, as you've just talked about. You know, for you at this stage of your life, are there things that you aspire to continue to do, to reach for?
I mean, I realize that, you know, the demographics and the logistics of basketball is that I'm not going to be able to officiate forever. I do still, you know, I feel like I still have some good years left to be on the court, and I've started now to transition into some, you know, facilitators of clinics and training and things like that. The CBOC, the national body, has, you know, reached out and made some connections to facilitate some officials training courses and evaluation courses and things like that. So I mean, down the road, right now I'm gonna try and do both. But down the road, I mean, I think they'll want me to be really involved in the evaluation and training process. Having been to a U Sport national tournament was certainly a highlight of my career, going to some national tournaments, U15, U17. I mean, those are nice, you know, nice to be rewarded by your province to be nominated. Having the opportunity to be hired a referee in the NBL Canada, the professional league, as one of 3 back then. There's a few more now, females. So I mean, those are feathers that it's nice to be recognized at that level. And I think I've gone in and represented, you know, my community, my province, and my fellow officials well. So yeah, still not probably the age of going to these national tournaments is probably a little, that ship has sailed now, but it's nice to have done those things, and I'm appreciative to have those opportunities. So I'm excited now to sort of start to transition towards the educational part of it to help the younger officials.
Well, the sign of a solid official is when you don't hear them being yelled and screamed at night in and night out. And I don't hear you being yelled and screamed at a lot. So congratulations on all of the things that you've done and been successful with. And obviously, we look forward to seeing you on the court when we finally get back to playing games again.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, when I heard that those schedules were released, I was ecstatic. I mean, I can't wait. There's some summer stuff going on here in the city now with the club teams and the things like that. So it's great to get back on the court again and start to put some of these, you know, clinics and not podcasts and webinars that I've been attending all through the winter through COVID when we've been shut down. So it's nice to be able to open up that notebook and start to, you know, refresh the memory and put those things into practice that we've been, you know, professionally developing on during COVID. So looking forward to the season and seeing you guys down at War Memorial Gymnasium.
Jen, really appreciate you doing this. Thanks, and congratulations for everything you've accomplished so far since you walked across the stage to get your diploma.
Yeah, it's been a good ride. So thanks to you guys, and thanks to Acadia, and looking forward to seeing you in the fall.
Thank you.